Hello, this is Peter with another video. Today, as you can see here, I'm going to be doing a bit of a propagation experiment. So in this video I'm hoping to show the whole process. Pineapple guavas or feijoas are pretty difficult to get to root, so I wanted to try and experiment a little bit with different rooting mediums. So in these two we've got perlite, these two have got just coconut coir. This one here is just a 50-50 between perlite and compost, all-purpose compost. This one is a potting mix that I make myself using compost, perlite and coconut coir. Roughly similar amounts of each, probably a bit more compost though. And then this last one is, I guess, a control, if you like. It has just compost in it. It's the same compost I'm using in these, mixed in these. I think it has sand mixed in. You can see there's definitely some smaller particles. I think it's sand that they mix in it. So I'm hoping that will help with the drainage. So the pineapple guavas, I'll show you the some of the cuttings I'm going to take in a bit. But I'm going to use a mixture of different varieties. I know from an experiment point of view it'd be much better to take them from the same plant to ensure the same variety and things like that, but I want to try and root a few of the different varieties I've got. So I'm going to see if I can get a few different varieties in each of the mediums. I might not be able to get one of every type or a couple of every type in each medium, as some of my plants don't have that much growth on because they lost a lot of leaves when they dried out earlier in the year. Some of them are quite small plants, so I don't really want to cut too much off them. Do a few more from some of the larger plants, or the plants I'm not quite as bothered about. So I've got a couple of unnamed varieties. I might take more cuttings from them as I'm more doing this as an experiment in this stage here. If I can figure out what works best, I'll then experiment more with the varieties I want as well. But yeah, I'll try and make this a full video to show the full process. It's probably going to be quite a long one. So yeah, hopefully this will contain the whole process from starting to actually getting them to root. But of course, pineapple guavas are notoriously difficult to root, so I wouldn't be surprised if I don't get any to root. But either way, I'm going to post this video regardless of whether they work or not. Some people that have managed to get them to root have said it takes 1 to 2 months on average for them to start to root. So yeah, we're starting this on the 26th of August. I imagine it's going to be a couple of months before we see any kind of results, or whether all the plants just die. I know last time I tried to root them, most of them looked fine for a month or two, but didn't root. But that was in the Hydropod, the aeroponic propagator that I've got, which is supposed to help improve the chances of getting plants to root. Okay, so these are the pineapple guavas, or most of them. There are, I think, 5 different varieties in total I've got. Mammoth, Triumph, Unique, Apollo and Gemini. And then I've got these 2 unnamed varieties as well. You can see there's some younger growth on some of these plants, like these here. There's also some older growth as well, so I don't know which of these cuttings would root easiest. But yeah, I'm going to try and take just a few from each plant. I don't want to take too many from any one particular plant. But yeah, we'll just play it by ear, I guess. So yeah, I'm not going to do too many cuttings, but I'm going to try and get a couple from lower down on the plants and some higher up. Apparently the ones lower down have a better chance of rooting. I'm going to try and get at least 3 nodes. So like this here, you'd have 1 node there, 2nd node here, and a 3rd node there, and cut just below the 3rd node. So I'll cut that one there. So you can see this one's a cutting from our Mammoth. Of course I'm not going to show you the whole process, but I'm going to take the cuttings from one plant at a time, bag them up so I don't mix them up, and then yeah, I'll show you the next part of the process. Okay, so these are all the mammoth cuttings. I thought I'd taken 5, but I actually took 6. I didn't want to take any more because the plant's still quite small, so I wanted to leave more growth on the plant. Some of the others I might be able to get a few more out of. But yeah, I've tried to get at least 3 nodes. Some have slightly more, might have 4 nodes or so. And there's this one and this one were both at the bottom of the plant, and they were, I guess you could say, semi-hardwood. They must have been from older wood, maybe last year's growth. Whereas some of these here have a lot more newer growth from this year on it. So next I'm going to strip off the leaves from the bottom parts of the cuttings. I'm going to leave the top 2 or 3 leaves, depending on the size of the leaves, from each of these cuttings. This one here actually has a second stem. I think for the purpose of this I'm just going to cut one of these side shoots off here, as I want to reduce water loss as much as possible. So I'm just going to leave these tiny ones on the side here. So I stripped all the leaves off apart from the top couple. Some are left free if they're very small. So yeah, I'm going to cut the leaves. Should have got a tripod out for this really, but I'm going to cut them down just below halfway. So yeah, something like that. Could do that one a little bit more actually. So yeah, you'd be left with something like this. Now, people are probably going to ask why do you cut the leaves? And it's just to reduce water loss, because plants transpire through the leaves, and so water comes through the leaf and is lost. So if you cut the leaves down, you end up with a smaller surface area for water loss, which will help the cutting from drying out too quickly. So yeah, I'm just going to do the same with the rest of these cuttings. So cut the leaves down, you'll be left with cuttings like this. And this one you can see is a bit longer because there's larger internodal spacing here than some of these other ones, which have got shorter spaces between the leaves, or the different nodes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that the cuts are below a node and also at an angle, slight angle. Some of them I've cut kind of straight when I took them off the plant, so I'm just going to cut them at an angle to try and improve the chances of rooting. And also what I'll try and do is I'll just scrape the bark a little bit at the bottom of the cutting on one side. I'm not going to cut it all the way around or anything like that. So yeah, it's not going to be easy to see, but I did just slightly scrape the bark on these cuttings on one side. Some of them are a bit further away from the node and some of them are right below the node. Just trying to see if I can encourage rooting to occur a little bit more. So yeah, and next I'm going to be dipping them in some rooting hormone. Just a powdered rooting hormone, nothing fancy. Just dip them in and tap the excess off. And make sure there's plenty of rooting hormone on all of them. So next I'm just going to put a cutting into each of these different mediums. So I'm going to have, because I've not got many of the mammoth, I'm just going to put one in the perlite and one of each of the other types. So in this case I've got 2 perlites, 2 Coco-Coir, so I'm just going to put one in one of the perlites like this. As I had 6 cuttings and I had that tiny side shoot, I actually used that little side shoot in the other perlite, and then the extra spare one went into the other Coco-Coir. So I've got one in each of these trays now for the mammoth in that top right hand corner. And yeah, so I'm not going to turn these around or anything, so I know which one's which. I'm also going to put some labels if I have more, so I'm just going to keep, say, one variety here, one variety there, but if I don't have any more of that variety, I'll just leave it empty. I'm not going to show the rest of it, I'll just come back once I've done all the other cuttings, and yeah, we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, we have hopefully a good chance of getting at least a few of these to root in one of these different mediums, but we'll see. Okay, so I have, as you can see, a cutting of each variety in the first row of all of these. So starting from the top, we have Mammoth, then we have Triumph, and then we have Gemini as the third one, and then Apollo is the fourth one, and then the fifth one is Unique. And yeah, that's the same in each of these at the first row. Apart from these two here, which I only had a couple of spare ones, so I just put an extra Mammoth Triumph in this one here, and then a Apollo in this one, and just an extra Mammoth in this one. And the rest of the space, I'm going to put a couple more cuttings in each, just to put a few more in each of these, and those are just going to be the unnamed seedling one, just for some extra, well, hopefully give us an extra chance of getting some to root. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not bothered about propagating those ones. I do want the name varieties mostly, but because I don't have much growth on some of the name varieties, so yeah, I'm going to take more from the unnamed variety, or both of the unnamed varieties I should say, and put them in these trays here, just to fill up the space. So yeah, I'll just add some of those in as well. Mostly recording this for my own sake in the future. If I forget what I've put in, I can always refer back to this myself. So yeah, I just put a few more cuttings in. So as I mentioned before, the first row on the right is going to be all the name varieties. I put labels on this side to correspond with that. And then all the extra ones that you see dotted around are from the unknown variety, one of the unknown varieties. I've called it Unknown A. I wrote on the pot Unknown A, or just A actually. The other one is B, Unknown B, but I've not put any cuttings for that one in any of these. All I'm going to do to water it is just spray it, each of these with some water to hydrate the surface. And I'll keep using the mister every now and again just to make sure everything's nice and hydrated. So yeah, I'm just going to spritz each of them. I'll do it off camera because it's harder to do it with one hand. So I give them all a good spritz with the that water. I did also use a watering can just to add a bit more water into them all as well, as I felt it wasn't going to saturate them enough, especially the perlite. It was bone dry, so yeah, I just watered them in properly with the watering can as well as spritzing them. So yeah, I'm going to put the tops on now, and then we'll come back if there's any activity. I'm hoping they'll all fit in. This one in particular is a bit tall, so it might poke onto the top. I should have probably cut it a little bit smaller. Yeah, we'll see what happens, see if they fit in. So yeah, they mostly all fit in. Some of them are just about touching the top, which is not ideal really. I'm probably just going to leave them, to be honest, see what happens now. I'm going to plug it in and get the heat going. So yeah, I'm going to come back later in the video, hopefully it's maybe in a few weeks time or so, to see if anything's happened. So yeah, keep on watching the video and we'll see what happens. Okay, so today is the 1st of October when I'm filming this section of the video. I thought I'd have a quick look at some of the pineapple guavas that I've been trying to root. Yeah, so it was the 26th of August when I did these cuttings. I have had a look at all these cuttings in each of them, and I'll lift the lid off them all in a minute so you can see what we're looking at. We've had some mostly not fantastic results, which I was expecting because pineapple guavas are pretty difficult to get to root. But there are a couple which have actually rooted, which I'll show in a few minutes. So I'll start off with the pure perlite. So I had a look at these and I think they've all rotted off, unfortunately. Seems for whatever reason that they've all gone mouldy and rotted in the perlite one. Now I had the spare perlite one, which had a couple of named varieties and also 2 unnamed varieties. And the unnamed variety is actually still green. I have checked them both and neither have actually rooted yet. I'm going to leave them a bit longer because there is a good chance they might still root in the future. We've had very much the same situation with the Coco Coir or Coco Peat. So yeah, the named varieties have all rotted off, gone mouldy. The very young shoots from the unnamed variety are still green. No roots, I've checked them as well. The same, pretty much the same in this extra spare one, the unknown pineapple guava, still got leaves. But yeah, no roots. And there's one, I think it's a mammoth, which is still surviving in there, but it hasn't rooted either. So the next one along is the 50/50 perlite and compost. Now I had a look at these, there's a little bit better. Some of the named varieties have still got a leaf or 2 on. No roots as of yet. The same with the unnamed seedling one as well. No roots, but still a potential for them to root in the future. The next one is my potting mix, and as you can see in this one, if I zoom in, all the named varieties have rotted off. I'm going to probably take these all out, all the mouldy ones, because I don't want the mould spreading. The unnamed one here has actually put out quite a lot of growth. So I was thinking this one might have rooted, but yeah, I took it out and there isn't any roots on it, but it is still looking quite good. So there's still potential that one might root. So I'm going to take all the mouldy ones out later, and hopefully that one might produce some good roots. Final one is just the pure compost. I think it has some added John Innes into the mix. Now, one of the named varieties has still got its leaves. I checked all of them, they've not got any roots. However, I was looking at the unnamed ones and I was very surprised to see this very small one here has actually developed a few roots. So that was quite exciting. And the first one I actually looked at was this one. And this one has also got some roots. So that's the first ever pineapple guava I've managed to get roots on. Unfortunately it's not a named variety, but it's still exciting, as this will help me try to perfect the rooting of these pineapple guavas. I'm going to experiment more, obviously with the pure compost working quite well out of all of them. I'm going to spend more time experimenting with this this mix, the pure compost, and I'll try some more cuttings in the future, especially the named varieties. Obviously I want to try and maximise the amount of named varieties I can get to root, because I want to propagate some of these to grow on my allotment. So yeah, quite exciting to see some roots on these, and I don't know whether I should leave them in here a bit longer or just pot them up already. Probably will repot these back in here, just leave them another couple of weeks, let the roots develop a little bit more first. And yeah, some of these named varieties in here have gone mouldy, but there's a few which are still, although they drop the leaves, are still not dead, so there's a potential they might root. So yeah, I'm going to focus more on this compost mix in the future. But yeah, there's still a chance that some of these others might also root. So yeah, I'm not giving up on all of these yet. But yeah, I'm very excited that I managed to get a couple to root. And with these being the unnamed variety, I'll probably attempt to graft onto these in the future. So I'll probably grow them on, and then once I get to a large enough size I could try and graft onto them. And I think grafting onto pineapple guavas is fairly difficult, but we can give it a go. Can't remember if I mentioned it in the video earlier, but I do have one of these thermostats here. The probe is actually underneath the one of the pods. It said not to submerge it in a liquid, and I thought putting it in the soil or perlite might be too moist, so it might damage the probe. So it's actually underneath that, and I think I have it set to about 34 degrees Celsius to get to, and yeah, you're not going to be able to see it on here, which it's 33.6, because of the refresh rate of the this display. It's not going to show properly, but yeah, that is meant to keep it around no warmer than 34 degrees. So I have it set that high because it's basically reading the temperature of the actual the surface here, and then obviously it's going to lose some of that heat as it's going through the plastic into these trays. So hopefully my aim is to keep the temperature around 30 degrees Celsius, something like that. So yeah, I've had that on for the majority of the time. I think maybe the first day or two I couldn't find the thermostat, but after that I had the temperature set for it. So yeah, it's quite a long video, I know, just showing the beginnings of my experimentation with pineapple guava rooting. Of course, as I said, I'm going to continue experimenting with different mixes, different amounts of moisture, humidity, light, all sorts of different things I'm going to try in the future. Once I find the best way to get these to root, I'll do another video. So yeah, I thought I'd show you the results after the last 6 weeks of experimenting with these pineapple guava cuttings. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so be notified when I do future videos. And I'll definitely keep you all updated on how the rest of these cuttings get on, especially the ones that still have green in the stems and the leaves. So yeah, if any more of these root, I'll definitely do an update in the future, and I'll also keep you updated on how these newly rooted ones get on. So yeah, I'll get these repotted again, as I mentioned before. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.